Hello. Hello. We are live. We are working. I just had a mind panic. I had absolutely no image on my TV. Hello, Nancy. How good to see you. There you go. That's better, isn't it? Right. Fantastic. Excellent. It's been a while. It's been a while. Right. So anybody else that's out there? There's two of you. So there's Nancy and somebody else. If somebody else wants to say hello, that'd be lovely. And then we'll crack on. You don't really want to see my post-it note on the pad on the thing there, do you? There you go. That's probably a bit better. So we're going to be talking through in that good old meandering way that we used to in the summer, if I can remember how we did it all. Be talking through some of your questions. I've got plenty of questions here from Lottie, and this is for all of you remember on the lives. This is a very much a meandering chit chat, so do join in if you've got any specific questions in the chat. If you want to address them to me, then please do. Steve, hello, good to see you. Good to see you. Very well, thank you. Do address them to @TimWalter or @Tim so that I can see that you're addressing me rather than having a chat amongst yourselves. Do have a chat amongst yourselves. I will try not to say hello to everybody. Hello, Sean. I haven't seen you for a long time as they appear, but I do tend to get sidetracked in saying hello. JF, hey, mate. Quite happy if you wanted to slip round the back door, JF, and do a bit of admin duty, but don't feel obliged. Not a problem at all. Wendy D, hello. Good to see you. Oh, Faye, hello. Good man, JF. Excellent. Good man. I didn't want to bother you with that. I completely forgot to make contact. So, lots been going on, hasn't there? Lots been going on. Now, Steve was saying the next hour or so. Cindy, hello. That's nice to see you there from Tennessee. Steve was saying next hour or so. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit shorter today, so we'll probably have to run away a little bit before 4:30. But we'll do what we can to get through everything before then. Mainly, I've got some questions that have been sent in beforehand, so that's great. We'll work on those. I'll tell you a little bit about what's coming up, what's going on anyway as well on the channel coming up, because it is actually really quite exciting. Didn't we love Rory? Wasn't he brilliant? That was fantastic. We'll get him back again soon. Lisa, hello. Good to see you. One of the old regulars, as are some of the earlier ones. So that was brilliant to talk to Rory. We maybe will touch on some of what he was talking about as well. And then we'll plow on through these questions that I've got here. But like I say, anybody that wants to ask a question as we go through. Hello, Angelica. Nice to see you. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so people I've got coming up. I'll tell you what, one guy, I'm really looking forward to talking to him. I'm doing these as pre-records, as you know. So I'm doing these pre-recorded interviews, and I'm actually speaking to a guy called Dean Slater tomorrow. He's an author. His latest book is called Dharma Bum's Guide to the Western Literature. So the Dharma's gone. The Dharma, no, it's not. It's called The Dharma Bum's Guide to Western Literature. Right, Lottie, good to see you. He is not only very funny, he's incredibly immersed in spiritual tradition and spiritual wisdom. And I've been doing a little bit of research, a little bit of background reading around him and looking at some videos and stuff. Really great guest, I'm hoping, and I'm talking to him tomorrow. So that'll be edited and live online fairly soon. So stand by for that one. And in a few weeks' time, I've got a filmmaker, a guy called Bill Bennett. He's an Australian award-winning filmmaker. Looking forward to talking to him. He, some while ago, made a movie called Intuition is Your Personal Guidance System. Great title. Perfect for what we talk about here on the channel, of course. And he's got a new movie coming out at the end of the year, which is all about fear and overcoming fear. And I just saw that and thought, well, how appropriate is that? So I'm really looking forward to talking to him. And then in April, we have Paul Selig is popping back to chat some more. He was incredibly popular with you all, so that's great. Sorry, just laughing at Lottie, having just worked out how to comment. Fantastic. So Paul Selig will be back in April. That's going to be brilliant. And then in May, some of you may have heard of Jeffrey Mishlov. He has been a presenter and has an online presence for some years. Very interesting guy. We're going to start off and sort of revolve a conversation around near-death experiences. He's done a lot of research into it, and near-death experiences are very close to our heart here on the channel too. So looking forward to speaking to him. And then finally, just the last one to let you know who else is coming on. Jude Currivan, author and researcher. Looking forward to her. Looking forward to speaking with her because she's coming on in June. And I kind of invited her with the question of, would you come on and speak to us, talk to us about this sentence? The reality of our universe emerges from more fundamental realms of unified reality, and that separation is an illusion. So our universe emerges from more fundamental realms of unified reality, and that separation that we experience is an illusion. And as we so often see in the comments on the channel, we forget all the time that this illusion is the fundamental nature of our reality. It is illusory, but it's incredibly real, incredibly solid. It has a purpose. There is a reason why we go through what we go through. And it's going to be fascinating talking to Jude. So really pleased that she's coming on. I met her some years ago, actually, when Hamish Miller was still alive. And we had some interesting conversations then. So it's brilliant to get in touch with her again. So those are some of the guests that are coming up. So woohoo. I'm hoping, and it's my intention, that we will do a live once a month. Basically, that's what I'm now aiming for. We used to do them once a week, but it was just impossible to keep up with that. There's no way I could continue to do that. So I'm going to aim for once a month. Just keep firing your questions in on any of the videos that go up. I'm hoping, again, this is a hope, fingers crossed, that we'll get a video up a week. You know, clearly there's loads of content up there already, but just keep putting your questions in, and I can address some of them as we go through. So yeah, Faye, Jude's, yeah, she's written so many. Great, yeah, really good. Really, she has a really good take on everything, from what is fundamentally that really a lovely mixture of the scientific and the spiritual. And when she's talking about the scientific side of things, unlike some guests like Amit Goswami, who was a fantastic guest, wasn't he great? I loved it. I still love him. He's brilliant. But sometimes I get lost in the terms that he uses to explain things. Jude, I find, is actually there really simple for clarification. Great. So let's see. So that's what's coming up between now and June. We may well squeeze in a few other guests as well in the meantime, and I'll be doing some of the old-fashioned recorded videos too. So let's see. So loads of questions. Now, I'm actually going to start with a question. I've got several from Lottie, and I'll come to those in a minute. But I wanted to cover off this one, which is from a lady called Anita. And this is I just want to give you I'm going to read you pretty much the whole question. There's quite a long paragraph here, but it'll give you an idea. And this really is for people that are very, very new to dowsing and looking at reality from this kind of perception of the intuition and the subjective self. Okay, so obviously many of you there are well immersed in the viewpoint of the power of the subjective reality. Anita is, I get the feeling, is sort of opening up the door to it all. So I'm just going to read you this now. She said, right, there's a new age shop where she lives in Oslo, where the people who work there use a pendulum to tune into my energy or anyone's energy. And just by holding the pendulum or swinging it around a few times, they're able to find the exact flower essence that I need, she says, among hundreds, within a few seconds, right? They will also tell me how an essence or a crystal will help me without reading about it, but explaining to me what I need to work on right now and how it will assist me. I asked them about how they use this method. How can they know these things? And they will not tell me, she says. So the people in the shop won't actually tell her One time a lady said she felt I had an ache on the left-hand side of my stomach, which was true. I really wonder, says Anita, how a pendulum can receive this information. I would really love to know if you're familiar with this. Okay, so I said to Anita, I'll cover it in the video, because it's a common misconception, it's a common misunderstanding that people think that the pendulum or the rods or whatever device it is that we're using in the dowsing practice, in the moment of dowsing, is the thing that is doing the dowsing. Now, you know, here's my pendulum. Focus is there, more or less, well, it's there. So this is simply an extension of what is happening in the body. It is an indicator of what information is being received. This itself, although it can be a magical thing, in other words, it can feel really special, and you can feel like this has got a lovely nature or a lovely energy to it. It is not the thing that is doing the work. The thing that is doing the work is the individual human being. Individual, I'll put in brackets for the more experienced people in the group. So when you, Anita, go into the shop, you're interacting with people that are highly sensitive. So they are sensitive to your energy, and they're picking up information about you, and they're using dowsing. And for them, they're probably also using that dowsing to indicate so that you can see that they are doing something, there's some interaction going on. Many sensitives will simply tune into a person's energy and speak and give them information straight off. They won't use a pendulum or a dowsing rod to give that visual signal that some kind of connection is being made. So when a lady says that you've got an ache on your left-hand side, she is probably being empathic, which means that she will feel what you feel, and therefore she will experience the pain on the left-hand side. So it's the person doing the information picking up the information. The pendulum, if they're using a pendulum, is acting as an extension to the person. The information comes through usually subconsciously, and then the conscious minute movements of the arm or whatever, the muscular movements of the person basically activate the pendulum. And that's, oh yeah, there it goes. Look, you know, that gives us the response, pendulum or the rods. That's the way that fundamentally most dowsers agree that dowsing works. Some people don't agree with that process, but that's the way that it seems to work. Information being picked up through the subconscious aspect of the individual, and then the dowsing response being the conscious indicator of yes or no. Okay, so the person is doing it, not the pendulum. What you'll find, though, if you are interested in dowsing and trying to learn to dowse, which everybody can do it, and everybody is sensitive to varying degrees. So there's nothing to stop anyone developing a degree of sensitivity. It's just that some people rather like playing the piano. Some people will always just stick with two fingers plonking away on a piano, whereas some people have the natural ability to be able to be a concert pianist, and they also practice to be a concert pianist. So dowsing is exactly the same. I've only ever met one person that couldn't actually dowse, and that really was a mental block on their part. So what I was going to say was, though, if you want to dowse, do choose something when you're serious about it that you really feel drawn to, that you feel attracted to, and that you will feel that you really want to use. Because like all of this work in the intuitive level, it's about using your heart vibration. So what I mean by that is that you are working from your heart and your truest self. Okay, there's a whole conversation that can be had in all of that, but I'm just saying, when you want to start, if you want to start looking into it more, do use your heart and your natural intuitive abilities to choose something that you really want to be using in future on to dowsing. Okay, so morning, Doris. Good to see you. Being Doris. Morning, being Doris. Good to see you from Canada. Dixie, good day. 1:30 a.m. in the Australian world. All good? Yes. Okay. All right. Go back to sleep. Cheers, Dixie. Good man. Excellent. Love it. So, Anita, hopefully that's answered your question. So they're able to tune in to you, tune in to what flower essence is suitable for you. Okay. So let's start on some of Lottie's questions. Now, okay, so there's a couple of really interesting ones here that sort of pick up from Rory's interview. And we'll do these first, right? So, so Lottie says, hang on, I'm going to go back a bit, actually. Let me give the preamble, okay? So we're all there, we're all on the same page. Right, funnily enough, it was your conversation with Rory the other day that brought a question up for me that was about beneficial earth energy, the beneficial earth energy center in the home. We seem to have two. So she lives abroad, she lives, forgive me, I've forgotten this, I think it's either in Spain or France, I keep forgetting, Lottie, I do apologise. Is it near Andalusia? Where's that? Anyway, they live in a home that's a bit like one of these Yorkshire Dales cottages, a big long house that was split into a barn, one side, and house, the other side. What they've done, obviously, is they've converted it to the house, so they use both parts of the house. Galicia, there you go, Spain, fantastic. So they've got two parts to this house, and they have the largest power center, positive power center, is on the house side, but interestingly, not in front of the big old fireplace. It's near the staircase, and the other one is in the barn, is in the sitting room, so it's the sitting room they use now. Okay, now, excuse my squeaky chair. These, she believes, Lottie says, these are quite powerful energy centers, and I believe to be positive energy, and they feel right and not in the least bit negative. So why do the cats like sleeping on them or near them? There's a little bit more to this. She goes on. The main energy center in the house travels up into the bedroom above, and their bed, she says, is situated on one of the points of the pentacle, the five-pointed star that you can find at the power center. Good dowsing, Lottie, excellent. I receive a very, very lovely, blissful and high state when I'm tuned into the energy here. And it's almost as if I've taken a pre-med pill or Valium, as it's very woozy and nice. Well, I hope that actually is woozy and nice, but you clearly are getting, you like it, so that's okay. I know cats love negative energies and dogs love positive, so I'm a bit confused, wondering if I'm tapping into negative energy instead of positive. Her hubby, Pete, has also doused, and he comes up with the same site for the beneficial energies and add to the confusion. Both the dogs and the cat like to sleep on the bed, not so that's hence they're on the sort of pentacle point. Okay, so the question is, why are the cats sleeping there? Because Lottie's been told, as we all are, that cats like detrimental energy centers. Okay, so the issue, I would answer this simply that positive, negative, male, female, plus, minus, good, bad. Clearly, they're all other sides of the coin, aren't they? You're concerned that you might have found a detrimental power center rather than a positive one. So that is an aspect of your self-doubt, which is okay. Everybody has those doubting questions. And what you're using as your determining factor is that actually you've read or been told that cats like detrimental power centers. They might not even have been classified as detrimental. They might have been classified as negative. Cats like negative power centers. Well, yeah, but clearly cats don't only like negative power centers or detrimental power centers. But at the moment, what you're doing is your doubts being raised by the fact that actually you see the cat sitting there and you know there's a power center, and therefore you doubt your dowsing, because it's natural, especially when learning to doubt the dowsing, and you don't want to be suffering any ill effects from what you perceive could be a detrimental power center. Now, indeed, Indeed. So a cat, I'm saying indeed to JF, by the way. Hello, D. Nice to see you there. Good. Excellent. So a cat may well find that power center. Clearly, the cat finds the power center comfortable. It finds it a nice place to sleep. It wants to sleep there. So does the dog. Dogs traditionally like what we call positive power centers. Okay, so why are they both there? Well, we don't actually know, but the main point is, I'll come back round again in a minute as well. I'm being a bit kind of jumpy around you on this, but the main point is, if you feel good and you're sleeping well, and there's nothing else that bothers you about that, where that bed is or that power center, then don't worry about it. That would be my view on it. The cat could be working on and transfiguring, transmuting, changing the energy anyway in its own process. I mean, this is what we believe cats do, animals do. They take what we perceive to be a detrimental energy and somehow it changes and the energy vibration changes. We don't really know. There's nothing that actually says for scientific certainty that that is the case. Oh, Faye, there you go. So, yeah, I know, exactly. So detrimental, this is what I was saying about negative and detrimental. So, yeah, great. Okay, so Faye is somebody that can actually see energies, and with earth energy lines, you'll see the colors and stuff. And so as she says there, she can, interesting to watch. So for somebody that can experience it, they'll see that process of transformation, transfiguration, whatever you want. Transformation is a better word, probably. But the key thing is, it is not necessarily detrimental for you. We used to, me and the wife, our bed used to be over the power center in our old house. We had a cat, dear tabby cat, Max. He would sleep on the bed all the time. And in fact, in the video that I made with Adrian Inkwood and Weber, there's a scene where Adrian is, we deliberately went into the room to illustrate this point. And Adrian says, well, there we go. There's the cat doing the work, happily transmuting this this energy for its owners, because of the cat was loving it. You also say about this point in the other part of the house where you were sitting on the sofa, and you actually that's where you had some kind of awakening experience. Interestingly enough, this is the sort of thing that I'm going to touch on with Dean Slater when I chat to him, because one of the big things is that we think of these sort of spiritual awakening experiences as being kind of like road to Damascus dramatic things. Maybe we have to travel to India to experience it or whatever, or sit with a guru for 3 months on end. But of course, that's not the case. It can happen at any time. And all it takes is for you to be actually relaxed enough that your vibration simply changes, and that's the moment, and you just experience that wonderful bliss state where you just are losing that duality, the physical sense of self. So you said great. I mean, good. This to me indicates that these lines that you found and the power centers are actually top notch, fantastic. So let me just read this, because this question is about the different bands of earth energy. So you've come to understand there are different widths to energies, and some are about 1 meter wide, others are about 6 or 7 foot wide. We have one of this size of 6 or 7 foot going through the barn side of the house, and it was while I was sitting on the sofa last year that I had kind of awakening experience. Now, Lottie also says she's doused a famous local church, San Andreas de Tuxedo, and it's almost identical width to the energy line that runs through that church. Yep, so that probably is the same line, quite frankly, if it's close. rather like Voikan, another ex-regular, who is living near a church. So he's got a massive Rory, I call it a Rory-sized line going through his little house there, goes through the church. I think Lottie might well have a similar thing going on. I understand that energy has colours, so I was wondering whether the different bands or lines or wiggles of energy, because they will tend to kind of spiral in a sort of a DNA pattern, Faye could probably confirm that or not, whether all of these wiggles of energy have the same sort of colour coding depending on how wide they are. I understand these energies are 3D. I think my understanding of it, and I'm sure Faye will correct me with her own experience, but my understanding of it is with a lot of these earth energy lines are multicolored. So they are all colored in rather like the auric field, but they are kind of, what's that term for the DNA spiral? That's the sort of shape that they have, that double helix, in a three-dimensional pattern. And they will be rainbow-like. So if you think back to Mexican history, Mayan history, they talk about the rainbow serpent, and that's what they're referring to. It's these earth energy lines traveling across the earth. So I'm not sure that it's a case of, you know, one line of one width being one color. It's not like we're sort of annotating a graph. Each of these lines, as far as I understand it, and I believe that they have different structures. I think, again, this was Faye mentioning this on Facebook somewhere. No, actually on my channel, wasn't it, on the comments section, that they have different sort of structures and different, you know, they go through these different processes, these different forms. So there are people that teach you to be sensitive enough with your pineal gland, your third eye, to actually start to pick up on some of that. And so you can, if you want to, explore that opportunity to try and tune into that yourself. I'm not there. I don't do that. I've never tried. I probably out of laziness, I guess. I don't know. But it's nice. It's nice even at the basic level of sensitivity, even to be able to just simply feel a line. Because Lottie, you'll probably be able to do this with your own the line in your house, or especially the one with the sofa on it, so the one that goes through your living room, the one that went through the barn. You would probably be able to detect where the edge of that is. Because you've been living in it, you'll be so familiar with the way it feels. And, you know, if I can do it, then you can do it. It just takes a bit of practice. Okay. Hello, Gary. I missed your live the other day on Monday. I got snowed under with other stuff. I'm going to catch it on replay. Gary Michael Vasey, worth checking out his channel. If any of you have seen the interviews that he and I have done over the years, check out his channel and subscribe to that, because he's doing some lovely work, very much along Rory's research line as well. So good to see you. Okay, so Lottie, the most wonderful thing for you is that you've got an entire universe to explore in your own home if you want to. Excellent. There you go. Lovely description from Faye. Yeah, there you go. Brilliant. So your next set of questions, Lottie, are taken from an email that you sent me way back in December. And I wanted to cover them off on a video closer to December. I was hoping to do a live in December, but clearly I didn't. So let's go through some of these. Now, I think that you've probably found answers to most of these questions. But again, for anybody picking this up on playback, I know we're sort of half an hour in, so whether people find this or not, I don't know. But these are some lovely questions that are typical, that are asked by beginners. Okay, so if you think back to Rory's interview, Rory is brilliant. He's a brilliant dowser. we all have different perceptions and different takes on life and different experiences of life. And when we get into the dowsing arena or working with subtle energies, then in a way those differences are magnified. So Rory's take on the world is brilliant, and it's very grounded in the good physical form. So you will have noticed, those of you that heard his interview, that he really likes getting feedback, really likes getting a confirmation of his dowsing from another source, because he's less comfortable working intuitively. Okay, so, and what he's trying to do is actually put the scientific method, the logical thinking process, to analysing and understanding earth energy. And what he's doing is really good work. You know, I mean, it's not for me to say whether it's good or not. Hello, Ian. Lovely, great, good. I'm sure you've joined us before. So Rory was very keen on finding feedback and getting confidence. And one of the things he did mention, almost as an aside, was that he actually did a lot of his dowsing with somebody else with him. And actually, for a beginner, that's what I would recommend. And the great thing is that what Lottie's saying is that she has been doing a lot of work with her husband dowsing as well. So what that means is that there's two of them there, and they can confirm each other's results. You don't need to even ask the same question out loud necessarily. If you know, you can do, but you will find that you will verify each other's results. So if you, and this is part of the reason why a dowsing club or a dowsing group is really useful. I know Lottie can't find one near her, but you know, incredibly useful to be with other dowsers. But it's even better to be learning with somebody that you're actually close to, because you're sort of in sync and in vibration together anyway. So you're likely to get similar results. But that doesn't mean to say that you're kind of just making it up together. You're actually just operating on the same vibration. You know, I mean, we all our worlds are, you will have heard me say this, all our worlds are completely unique and individual. When we interact with each other, we are literally merging our vibrational worlds, our experiences, and exchanging information on that level. Now, of course, that's from the level of seeing from the point of view as a human being. Clearly, everybody is linked energetically anyway when they're in this vibration, in this frequency. In other words, alive as a human being. And clearly we also then filter out into the other frequencies. That's Rory's word. Let's go with that. I've got to stop using this word dimensions. So what I'm saying is that's a really long-winded way of saying, Lottie, brilliant that you're working with Pete. Really helpful for you. So you asked a question way back in December when you were standing over running water. Why does your rod turn one way or turn the other? Basically, because it's indicating the flow of the river. Flow, not river necessarily, but even the underground water flow, trickle, even just a trickle, the rod will show you which way it's going. So that's why, and with earth energy lines, if you come across an earth energy line that's got a dominant flow, directional flow, then it'll, whoop, off it goes, right to this, you know, it'll point. I know you know this already, Lottie, but for anybody else new watching this on playback, don't forget that dowsing is a two-part exchange. You have to ask a good question, a specific question, in order to get a doused response that means anything. Because you can stand in a room and have your rods and they can give you a yes and a no and point to things, but if you're not asking a question, you have no idea what they're showing you, right? Don't forget, there's a playlist, JF, if you want to dig it out, the Learn to Douse playlist, that would be brilliant. Do they, Sean? That's fantastic, excellent. Great, good. Well, maybe Lottie can find one of those. So where would there, so there would be a list on the British Society of Dowsers, Sean, would there? Okay, now the question here is another thing that puzzles me, she says, are nodes. I don't really know what they are. Nodes. Rory would have talked about them. Doesn't have to be an energy line and a water line, but a node, as far as I'm aware, is simply a crossing point of two earth energy lines. That's typically what we talk about. So when Gary's dowsing in his country, great, thanks, Faye. But Gary's dowsing in the church that he's exploring, or Voikan will be dowsing in the church that. Hello, Mark. Good to see you. Dowsing in the church that he's currently exploring. There will undoubtedly be a crossing point, and it would be a node. Now, Rory is putting together a map of the nodal points, the big nodal points of the big lines, the +4 lines that he's been talking about, right? And so that's what he's doing, with the intention that. Yeah, thank you. With the intention that people can gather at these points and meditate, because the node, the crossing point, is the more powerful position in a line. Now, you ask later on, is there a more powerful part of the line? And the point is that it's actually the most powerful part is the crossing point. At the crossing points, you'll also find the vortex, the spiral, the vortex. So we simply use, again, I know it's one of your questions here. It was one of your questions. The term vortex merely applies to a 3-dimensional spiral. So a spiral being a 2-dimensional shape, and that's what we douse because it's, that it's a heck of a lot easier to douse the 2 dimensions than it is the 3. So at a node, you will find a power center vortex, fundamentally. You will also hear vortex power sites. So Sedona in the States, well known, bloody great state, but it's not. It's an area, Sedona National Park, very well known for having powerful vortices, and people get really excited about them. But the reason that they're powerful is because they've been used over the centuries by humanity, and all sacred sites. I will say all sacred sites will have a powerful earth energy center. The degree of power will depend upon how much they've been used for certain activities. But this is the point about earth energy, about some types of earth energy. I'm going to have to be careful how I say this now, because the more we as dowsers in the dowsing communities take apart exactly what earth energy is, and we find that there are different types, different sources, then we have to be more specific in how we label them so that we are clear about it. So there is Rory's type of earth energy line, which is a sound, which appears to be a sound-induced vibrational response on the surface. It's vibrating in the ether. So the ether is the quantum level of connectivity. So the ether is something that was always considered to be present in the old science. So Newton, for example, as far as I'm aware, considered there to be an ether. And then when Einstein came along, he threw ether out when he developed his theories of relativity. But as a result of throwing ether out of the picture, because they didn't think it existed, there were various experiments done which appeared to prove it didn't exist, whereas actually there were also some experiments that were done that proved it did exist. When they threw it out, they had to introduce all sorts of variables to counteract the discrepancies in the results that were occurring in scientific measurement. So now science is accepting that there is an ether. Subsonic vibrations, so sound, which is below our perception, this is what Rory was talking about, emanates its vibrations up through the earth. And on the class 4 lines that he talks about, those are vibrations in the ether created by subsonic sound from the earth. At the nodal points of those big lines, because we're talking about the ether, and we as beings are also made of the ether, we have a very intimate connection through our bodies. I mean, it's not only the brain, it's also the heart, it's the whole process. Our whole chakra system is also part of the ether, because we're all made of the same stuff fundamentally. When we are positioned with intent, focused intent on a crossing point, a node, then our focused intent is amplified. And if we are working together at that node with many people, there appear to be some limits as to how the effectiveness increases in power. So in other words, it doesn't necessarily follow that if you've got 500 people meditating on one particular intention, that is much greater necessarily or proportionally greater than having 8, for example. Google Lynn McTaggart, The Power of 8. But Dr. Joe Dispenza has also done work on group meditation and the power of group meditation. And I think he got to a place where it appeared that a group of about 15 was maximizing potential. Now, obviously, it increases thereafter, but it was like the optimized group. I know Lynn McTaggart was working with 8, but I'm pretty sure I might be wrong, pretty sure I remember that Joe Dispenza was talking about 15. Basically, therefore, we could say between 8 and 15 is a really good number of people to be focused and working at nodes. That's what I was getting to. Did you follow that? Dragons, yeah. Yes, and indeed, yeah. I mean, and this is the point, Mark, that I like to. That this is the reason why, and as you know, the reason why I like to encourage people like Lottie to encourage you all to find that most positive earth energy power center and to connect to it. Excuse me, I've got to have a quick slurp. So Mark has had shifts of consciousness, spending time at sacred sites, Neolithic sacred sites, and experienced that shift of consciousness that has enabled him to see these colors that Faye was talking about earlier on, right? So it's a major shift of consciousness. You can get a lesser extent, a lesser shift, even from just a little power center in your own home, the most positive and beneficial power center in your own home. These are not, we don't believe at this stage that these are generated by sound in the same way as the group 4 lines that Rory talks about. We do believe that they are more to do with the electromagnetic energy of the individual. Yeah. Wendy, don't be scared. Don't be scared of it. You will have done enough dowsing around the house to understand that the power there is good. You know, douse it, check it out. You're actually fortunate, unless you feel I know I keep saying, I've said this several times today. I don't keep saying it, but I said it several times today. Unless you feel unwell in the house, and therefore you're suffering from geopathic stress, there's not going to be anything to worry about. Especially verify if you with the dowsing. Okay, my chair. I've got to change this chair. There is a danger that I might seem too flippant with that kind of recommendation, but for you in the group, I know, you know, from previous comments that you've said, you know what you're doing. The overall awareness of dragon lines, the expression dragon can seem to be ominous or, you know, threatening. But if you think of it from the Chinese perspective, from the Eastern perspective, the dragons are not creatures of ill will, but you know, I don't see them as being I don't see, I'm laughing at Faye's comment, I don't see them as being dangerous or nasty. Dragons are wonderful things to have in your life, and if you know, they really are. They're wonderful. The saying goes that you don't choose a dragon chooses you. And if you do work with dragons in a focused intention sort of way, spiritually or magically, then you're likely to have a life that reflects the ups and downs of the dragon's back. That's what they say. So in other words, life will go through quite deep lows and very high highs, but it's probably worth it, quite frankly. Okay. Oh, okay, fine, excellent. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but not all lines are referred necessarily as dragon lines. So, you know, the little tributary that comes through this office, Mark, wouldn't be considered a dragon line, well, not in my world. But yeah, excellent. So, Wendy, if you find them troubling, simply ask upstairs to turn them down. Okay, I mean, it is that simple. Excellent. Okay, let's plow on. Anybody got questions? I've still got plenty from Lottie, and unbelievably, it's 4:15. We've got about 10 minutes, guys. So if anybody has got a particular question, okay, then do pop it in the chat. Nice that so many of you have stayed around for so long. Do click the thumbs up if you haven't. It's really helpful for the channel. Lovely. And obviously click it if you're enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, what are you doing here? Okay. Brilliant. I think everybody's seen the Spirit of the Serpent, so there's probably no need to, well, pop a link up. JF, if you don't mind, could you pop a link up to the Spirit of the Serpent as an example of earth energy at a sacred site? Thank you. I think Lottie will understand what an earth energy center is now after talking about nodes and things. Are there more active parts of energy lines? We've covered that. Oh yeah, well, there was this was a very good question. Again, I think I directed Lottie to look at some of the videos that in the Learn to Dowse thing. But her question was, once you've established a rapport, oh, excuse me, I do beg your pardon. Once you've established a rapport with your rods and are confident in the answers you receive, how do we build on those intuitive answers if we're really not sure what the next step is? Well, that's because you're looking for a path to follow, Lottie, or you were, let's say. You probably still are. A lot of people do. We all do in life, don't we? We like to know, and we are taught to plan and to strategize and to do all these things. And actually, especially with spiritual development, you don't need to actually plan. You really just want to focus on taking time to simply be still. So meditate with the earth energy. But don't look for answers in it. Don't look for things that you need to be doing. If you got on with the interviews that I did with Amit Goswami, in other words, if you could understand him well enough, and both from the scientific point of view and from his quite thick accent, then do pop back and look at those, because what he talks about is the process of doing, being, doing, being. Doing in this sense is about planning and strategizing and, following a path. Like, this is the path I'm going to follow. Being is just let it be, just chill. And what Amit says is doobie-doobie-doo, follow that old Frank Sinatra tune, doobie-doobie-doo. You alternate these ways of seeing in the world, and you will find your own questions being answered, because actually the questions will appear and your answers will come as well. So in other words, you will be in the flow at that point in terms of things will, thank you, JF, things will simply crop up as questions, and then simply in the next step or breath or whatever, imminent straight away, you'll see the answer. You'll be led. And this is the point about your rods. You said when you started, you were getting really good answers and you were really in the flow. And then you went through this phase of it all went wrong. Typical. Everybody does that. You know, dowsers. It is what happens because you are being taught, you are being led, you are being shown things as you progress and your energy changes and you develop and your understanding changes. That word understanding implies a brain function, but it's really about understanding from here. So it's a knowing, your awareness, you allow things to occur with the freedom of understanding. I'm going to be saying that a lot. With the freedom of knowing that you are actually not just restrained by your physical three-dimensional self. You're, as I tend to say, you're far more than you've been educated to believe, like we all have. We all are, and we all have been educated to be restricted in our understanding, because those in authority know the power of what we truly are, which is the spiritual being inside the biocontainment suit. And that's the really important thing. So, and that's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, I know none of you, I don't need to be kind of using those labels. But again, for anybody on playback, we're not talking conspiracy theory. We're talking like, what is the subjective awareness inside you? You know, what is the thing that believes it to be alive? That thing is the thing that continues forever. That ain't a person. That's a really powerful, non-physical being. Oh, okay, so we'll just go there to finish off with then. That's interesting, isn't it? The interesting points always come at the end. So, even now, your power lies within your choices. To wait another month to understand the power of your choices is to wait too long, because your power of the choices, your power that you exhibit when you make choices in everything that you do, but particularly in your choices of how you see the world and how you choose to process the information that you believe is being given to you, that you believe is the truth, that is your power at this time, both individually and collectively. As the individual, it is easy. As the collective, the power is determining many futures. Your device for understanding is the heart center. That is the only thing that is real, is what you feel, what you connect to, what you base your choices on. This is important. As you all step out, you step out in unity to create the same vibration. The choices that you'll face between now and 1 month's time are significant on an individual level and a collective level. It is not to say the end of the world is nigh. That is not the case. But collectively, this is the time to free yourselves or to be shackled. And it is as simple as that. Don't be misled. Don't allow your hearts to be misled by the pantomime of the unreal, the illusory process, which hurts deeply. But it is a process, and all of those souls that are hurting are cared for. as you are. So there we go. Absolutely, Nancy. Yeah, it is the power of. That was nice of him to drop in, wasn't it? That was nice of him to drop in. Okay, so I have a question for upstairs, which is, see what you think, which is, spirit, is part of the ether and the subatomic structure, which forms the ether, because the ether is the bubbling quantum mass of possibility from which all form is created. This is supposed to be a timeless event, and they are timeless, not time dependent in the way that we are slaves to time in the 3D world, 3D frequency. So how do they give us the warning? How do they say why it's important that you pay attention between now and another month's time? I suppose the answer is easy, isn't it? Because they dip in, they come down to the detritus that is our level, I guess. That's what they get involved with. Okay, cool. Any last question? I can take one question and then I'm going to have to run away. I have a very, very mundane, illusory experience to do, which is to go and pick up the shopping. I'm serious. Unfortunately, I have to meet the Tesco's van in the car park because we live so rural and remotely. Any questions, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? I need my illusory tea bags. Okay. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I think we covered off loads of questions for Lottie. And Lottie, I'm quite happy to take any other questions that come along. And I know that a lot of those you probably already had answers for, but they were good questions for beginners elsewhere another time. Yes, and JF, yeah, thank you. Yeah, great, lovely, thank you. So no, lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all. We will do this again next month, and we will maybe touch on some other things, maybe some of Joe Dispenza's work, but maybe also let's reflect on some of the guests that we will have had by then. Angelica, thank you. Muddy Water, brilliant, great. Look at that. Thanks, good to see you. Dawn, oh yeah, didn't say hello to you earlier. Okay. Good man, Steve. We'll meet one day, perhaps. See you on the old Facebook a lot. Yes, Mark, I will. Yes, and I will get him in and we'll talk because definitely there's a link there. Thank you for the reminder. Lisa, good. Take care. Okay, I'm going to press the big red button and we'll go. I can't believe that was nearly an hour. All right. Take care and see you next month. Bye-bye.